Peace and blessings. I just want to pop in and chat with you briefly. I want to invite you to a very important roundtable discussion I want to have with three very dynamic brothers. Hassan Clay, he's a marriage and family counselor. A. Bridge Arias, and he is a youth mentor, a motivational speaker, and a life and business coach. And last but not least, James Overton, who is the host of Coffee Talk, Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And no, we are not related. We did try to figure out if we were related somewhere down the line, but we had to settle. We're just going to be play cousins because we had no family relation, although we have the same last name. But we're going to have a very dynamic roundtable, a very engaging roundtable discussion with these three brothers. They're going to share their insights about my book, Hidden in Plain Sight. And oftentimes, I know a lot of people think that Hidden in Plain Sight is some type of male bashing book, but it's far from that. Although I interviewed women for the book and talk about their experiences with all forms of abuse, mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. The book is very much for men and for women. The book is for men who have mothers, daughters, sisters, nieces, and women in their lives that they want to protect from this type of predatory behavior. We want to talk more about that in the roundtable discussion that's going to be on April 4th at 7 p.m. And I'm just looking forward to engaging with these dynamic brothers and to get their feedback. And it's going to be open conversation, I hope that it's all good, their feedback. I'm quite sure they will have some constructive criticism as well. And so we're open, of course, to engage in that. And that's going to be on April 4th at 7 p.m. And you can watch it here at the author Kalima Overton Amin Facebook page. It's going to be live streamed. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is the African proverb, and it says that the tree remembers what the axe forgets. And that is why we're doing this work. Those of us who are doing this work to help people, kind of unpack trauma and heal and recover and restore their lives from different traumatic experiences. And the proverb, the tree remembers what the axe forgets, is really talking about, the human interaction, how the person who is inflicting the pain is soon to forget the pain, while the one who has experienced the pain, will have a long-lasting impact. And when we think about the axe and the tree, an axe can only be an axe. So if you want to be one or the other, you would want to be the tree, even though the tree is receiving the pain. At least as a tree, you can continue to bloom, to grow, to blossom. You can continue to provide shelter and protection and be a source of shade and a source of comfort to others, where the axe can only be an axe. The axe has power, but it has no ability to grow. It has no ability to restore itself. And so that's how we want to think about ourselves, that regardless of, the wind, the rain, the heat, the cold, the dry spells and seasons in our lives, that we can continue to grow and to bloom and to provide protection and shade and, to be a source of comfort to others. We also talked about the daylily, because it is actually a very rugged plant that people mistake for a flower because it's so beautiful. The daylily is a very, very rugged plant, and it grows in the heat, the cold, the rain, the wind, in dry spells. It grows regardless. It continues to rejuvenate itself. And that's what we want to do in our lives. We want to be resilient. And resilience means just restoring your life back to normalcy after you've experienced a traumatic event. And that's what we want to do. We want to be resilient in that way. And so when you're thinking about the different forms of trauma, mental, physical, spiritual, and financial trauma, even some legal trauma, you want to be able to heal holistically so you can learn and grow and to make better decisions. Oftentimes when we are finding ourselves repeating old mistakes or being groomed or manipulated and abused in the same ways over and over again, it is often because we have not completely healed from that previous experience. And I know you've heard me say before, for instance, if you get hit by a car and you have a broken leg and they put a cast on and give you a crutch, they've only healed the physical self. They haven't dealt with the emotional and psychological trauma of getting hit by the car, and they haven't dealt with the financial trauma or maybe even the legal trauma of being hit by the car. And so you may continue to walk into the street because you haven't really unpacked all of these aspects of the trauma so you can make better choices, because we all want to make better choices in life, but sometimes we're not equipped to make those choices because one, we haven't healed, and two, we haven't educated ourselves about some of those things that we may have missed, some of those lessons we never received, growing up in childhood. And so until we're able to unpack all of that and restore our lives and recover, we should really kind of sit and wait and be patient to gain, this insight, to restore our lives, to rebloom, to regrow in our space, because we can be powerful in our own space. And until we get to that place, then we should just kind of wait and be patient. And so those are some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today. Just a little hodgepodge of things. Once again, I do want to invite you to join me for the Brothers Roundtable. It's called Brothers Speak Out. They're going to speak candidly about my book, Hidden in Plain Sight. And something else I did want to share about the book is that when I had my 25 beta readers, and these were test readers, people who read the book before it went to the publisher, I selected 25 readers and 17 of them were men. I did that on purpose because I wanted to make sure that men did not feel villainized by my book. That is definitely not the purpose of my book. I say over and over again in my book that when we're experiencing trauma in our families, in our lives, that we can't get through this trauma without having strong, dependable, resourceful, spiritual, and morally based men in the family, in our communities, to help people move on from this type of trauma. And so I do encourage women in my book to make sure that you surround yourself with men who exhibit these types of characteristics so you can fully heal in a protected space. And so Hidden in Plain Sight, Are You Being Groomed for Love Bombing, Spirit Breaking, and Abandonment, is talking about the many forms of abuse, but it's definitely not a male bashing book. I'm looking forward to hearing insights from these three brothers. They are professionals in their own rights, professionals in their areas of expertise, and I'm quite sure they're going to lend a lot to the conversation, and that's going to be on April 4th at 7 p.m. right here at author Kalima Overton Amin. And I look forward to seeing you there. Peace and blessings, and enjoy your evening.